I want to ask, this is something that we spoke about with Mulenga the other day. Like, did you just say, you know what? Everybody will get married at some point in their life. So let me just make wedding songs. And they will listen to them and they'll dance. Like, what was the game plan when starting to make what we hear?
You know, it's not something that I would say that I planned. And right now, it is coming out to be my strongest point. And this is where I think most of the grace that I have, this is where it has been directing me to.
Yeah.
And funny enough, in the last 2-3 years and this year, I get a lot of engagements from weddings than just these normal social events.
True.
So it's very important that, you know, as an artist, you have to find your niche. So I think this is my niche.
This is your niche. Well, keep at it, because I'm inviting you 10 years from now. The wedding will be in Dubai. So we'll send a quotation.
No, I'll still be alive. I'll still be alive, and that will be great.
That's amazing. Let's take it back to, I think, 2014, which would be 9 years ago. And this was, of course, 10 years after you probably started your music career. And one thing that we speak about here on the Upville, and when we get to interact with a lot of up-and-coming artists, is this wait. Because it seems like waiting for people to hear your music for 10 years is a long time.
It's a long time.
You get to now release this amazing music. You're not married, but you're speaking of love in such a beautiful way. People are Irene Mambilimaling every single way in the country. How are you processing this? And also, what would you say to people who feel like, I've been doing this for 3 years, I just want to give up? What kept you going on that up until we said, this one is what has solidified Drimz' name in people's minds?
Sure. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. It was quite a very challenging, and there were days that I just felt like giving up. And I've always told this story on how there were nights, because I used to own a small studio. There were nights that I would literally cry in my bedroom, and I would put a list of my songs, and I'm playing them to God, and I'm asking God, like, why isn't any of these songs blowing? And you know, it was a time when, we had the third, like they were running the show when it came to Zambian music. So I'm in my bedroom, and I'm comparing my sound to their sound. Like, my voice is straight, but these other guys, their voices, they need auto-tune. Like, what is happening? My beats are clean and on point. And this other side, the beats are not clean and on point, but what's happening? But every day that I would wake up, I would go back to my studio, you know, create music. And I would lie if I said I was alone in that space. There were people that were encouraging me. And in my coming up, there were people that were instrumental. Really, because I remember Daliso used to visit me a lot in my small studio, and he would encourage me. Boy, what boy? Makitu would come to my place, Chameleon, you know, Roberto, all these other guys, and just my friends that I grew up with. So that is what really kept me going.
That's amazing to hear. You've had very interesting stories along your path, and I know you've said them, and I'm really, I watching and, you know, listening, I get very motivated when I see you and I see what you've done with music. One particular interesting part of your career is how you were able to be a stepping stool for a lot of people. You know, you used collaborations not only to grow you, but to grow other people. And the person that we consider as Zambia's biggest artist at the moment, your Maps, I can say, we need to pass an offering basket around. These people need to put money, type, so they give it to you. What is your thought on that? Do you think he owes his career to you? He's a great talent, of course, but you put him on an effort with such a big song. And even today, when I put it on my Instagram status tagging you, you haven't followed me back. It was so nostalgic. It was an amazing sound. But do you think he owes his success to you? Or?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. In my, like I mentioned, in my coming up, there are people that went out of their way just to help me. And there's someone that actually mentions to me to say, the day that you have your success, I don't need you to come and kneel down or give me money for success. I'm helping you so that you help the next person. And this has been me. I don't hold back. If God has put me in a space where I have to help you, I have to help you. Whether you say thank you or not, I would have done my part. So I wouldn't say I should feel entitled for anybody that is successful that has passed through, you know, my hands.
Okay,
Sure.
that's amazing to hear. You've had amazing experience in this industry. Like the people you're mentioning, I mean, starting off with Roberto, having Daliso come over and Maki too. These are people that we see running the industry right now. But you've managed to pave a way for yourself where you understand that there's an industry and you're in it, but you're not actively making noise in it. You know, you're putting music out on your terms. What would you say about our general industry when it comes to music as Zambia?
That is a very wide question.
I want to hear your wide answer.
What do you want me to say?
I think just assessing, looking at when you came in and where we are now. Have we made the progress? Are you happy with what we're doing?
You see, everything that we do is affected by what is going on around us. And right now, I would say some of us blew at a time when social media was not really so much of an in thing. So for you really to present yourself to the world to say this is what I do was really a hassle. It was a hassle. But right now, it's easy for an upcoming artist to connect with the people because of social media. Zambian music has really grown, looking at where we're coming from. And the only cry right now is we have to have that big impact on the international. Because right now, it's rare that you are comparing us against, or pairing us against each other. If people are talking about Zambian music, they have Nigerian music in their minds. They have, exactly. So now, exactly, that is the conversation now. And I'm happy that we are beginning to have this conversation, because then it is pushing us, the artists, really to get out of their comfort zone and start making inroads, you know, just beyond Z.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Let's talk about this album situation. Why don't you have an album? Or why don't you define what you put out as an album?
Isn't the music that I've been putting out, isn't it just great music?
It's great music.
So what do you want?
I think people expect that an album follows. You know how we have the linear way of thinking for everything in Zambia. We think you have great singles, you do an amazing album, an album launch, we only hear 2 songs from the album, we won't know about the others. But at least you have an album.
There, right there. I feel like I'm in a space where I've not really convinced myself enough to have an album. I think I get a lot of fulfillment when I put out singles. And this is the more reason why you see that every time I put out a single, from my end, they're successful singles. Because I give it my life, I give it everything. When you put out an album, we're in a generation where the one song that you introduce the people to is the one they'll go with.
That will carry the album.
So you find that even when you have got good material in the album, most of it will just, we're just talking about Neo's album. Neo's album is a very good album. But how many songs are we talking from that album? Unless maybe he says, okay, let me embark on a journey of promoting each and every song. But that is going to be a very tedious undertaking. So until such a time when I decide to put an album, but for now we're just running with singles.
Speaking of singles, we have the latest sound from you. It's titled Vama Love. And just let me digress a little. You recently tied the knot. Has anything changed?
That photo is like for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
But people make it seem like it was yesterday.
like 4 or 5 years ago.
Exactly. But how's life going? Has it impacted your music? You've always been a love person. Has it impacted your music?
You know, I have been with my wife for over 15 years now.
Oh.
Yeah. But when it comes to marriage, we've been married for over 6 years. If I've not been 6 or 7 years now. She's watching, I know. She should be able to know that.
The right date. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you realize that, like I mentioned, even in your creative space, your creative process is affected by what goes on around you. So even when I'm writing my music, I'm writing it from a place where I know to say, if I was going to write something like this, another person outside my confinement is going to relate with the music. And this is what has kept me going.
Also, I read my memos about her. It was her effort was about her. We thank you, whoever you are. We love you. We love that he loves you in that way. Let's speak about this particular single. A very clean video and the same message, but an amazing sound. And you said you have to name the sound one day, because what is it? But let's talk about the song.
So, like I mentioned, social media is beginning to there are certain narratives that social media is what can I say? Propagating. If
Pushing.
that is, yeah, exactly. So you see how the stories that get a lot of attention are the ones that have got a negative. You get my point?
Yeah.
So I realized that a lot of people are beginning to buy into the narrative of, if you're my love, you can die, and the likes.
Yeah.
And I'm of the view that love in its totality is it is us, the people that are in love, that
You're
are
not from Lusaka. that's the thing. You're not a Lusaka citizen.
But look, at the end of the day, we still have successful marriages in Lusaka. We still have successful relationships. It's just that we throw so much brain on negative energy. Someone was telling me this morning, said, no, but when you read the newspapers, you hear that 29,000 divorces. Do they tell you about the thousands and thousands of relationships that are working right now? So I would equate, relationships or marriages to the aviation business. Like right now, I will tell you for a fact that in this hour, there are hundreds and hundreds of aeroplanes that have landed safely. But when one of them crashes, that is where the news is.
True.
So we cannot judge the aviation business based on that one crash. So now, this is what prompted me to come up with this song.